Hello, and welcome back to Miss Bell's classroom. Today in class, we'll be talking about the year 1996. And some of the events that happened in this year. So, starting off talking about, cost of living. The yearly inflation rate in the United States in 1996 was 2.93%, and the interest rate's year-end Federal Reserve was 8.25%. The average cost of a new home was around $118,000. The average income per year was around $36,000. The average monthly rent was $550. Cost of a gallon of gas was $1.22. A U.S. postage stamp cost 32 cents. The average cost of a new car was around $16,000. And some of the important events that happened in 1996, some of the major news stories, which we'll go into more. eBay started an online auction website. IBM's Deep Blue defeats chess champion Garry Kasparov. Centennial Olympic Park. Atlanta nail bomb. Dunblane massacre. Dolly the sheep becomes the first mammal to be successfully cloned. Mad cow disease happened in England. The UK Prince Charles and Diana, Princess of Wales, got divorced. And then also with the mad cow disease hitting Britain, there was a mass slaughter of herds of cows and new laws to stop beef being sold on the bone. A severe meningitis epidemic occurred in West Africa. DVDs were launched in Japan, and the number of users on the internet exceeded 10 million. This is also the year eBay and Ask Jeeves is started, and the first ever cloning of a mammal, Dolly the sheep, which was said earlier. So one of the important events that happened in 1996 was Taiwan had its first presidential election. So the Republic of China, also known as Taiwan, held its first direct presidential election during March. The election was won by Lee Teng-hui, who had already been the president of Taiwan since 1988. Teng-hui was responsible for introducing many democratic reforms to the country, including the direct presidential election. He was rewarded by voters when he won with 54% of the vote with a 76% voter turnout. Teng-hui would remain president of Taiwan until 2000, when he stepped down observing the new constitutional term limits that he helped create. The United Nations adopted the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. A little bit more information on that. On September 10th of 1996, the United Nations adopted the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty called the CTBT. The treaty banned all nations from testing nuclear explosions above or below ground for any purpose, military or civilian. The treaty also banned countries from aiding or encouraging other nations to test nuclear technology, and created an international monitoring system that would keep track of nuclear explosions across the globe. A total of 183 countries signed the treaty, and those 159 have ratified it. So the United States signed on September 24th, 1996, but has not ratified it yet. Major League Soccer had its first season. So Major League Soccer made its debut in the United States during April of 1996. The first MLS match was held in San Jose, California, between the San Jose Clash and the DC United. MLS was created in 1993 out of a deal made order for the U.S. to host the 1994 FIFA World Cup, but it did not become fully operational until 1996. The league originally began with 10 teams, and despite having some financial and organizational difficulties in its early years, it had expanded several times in between 1998 and the present, doubling the number of teams, with even more future editions being planned and created. Throughout the world, so Kofi Annan was appointed head of the UN. So Kofi Annan of Ghana was chosen as the Secretary General of the United Nations during December of 1996. Annan replaced Boutros Ghali of Egypt, who had previously served in the post since 1992. Kofi Annan began his term as the 7th Secretary General in 1997 and would remain in the position until 2006. Ki-moon, Annan's term, when he was then he was replaced by Ban Ki-moon, South Korea's. So Annan's term, while not scandal-free, was marked by reform and a revitalization of the UN, including an increased focus on human rights around the globe. For the world, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Carlos Felipe Zminis Belo, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, Jose Ramos Horta during October. So Carlos Belo was a Catholic bishop, and Jose Ramos was an activist who worked towards East Timor's independence from Indonesia. The Nobel Committee hoped that the prize would encourage both sides to pursue peaceful and diplomatic solution to the conflict between East Timor and Indonesia. So East Timor became independent in 2002, and Jose Ramos became the prime minister in 2006 and the president in 2007. In the United States had launched the STS-72 space mission during January, and the Space Shuttle Endeavour launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida with 6 astronauts on board. The goal of the mission was to retrieve the Japanese Space Flyer Unit satellite, deliver and retrieve a number of NASA experiments, and to perform 2 spacewalks during which they could test tools that would be used to assemble the International Space Station. The mission was successfully completed, and after 8 days and 22 hours, they returned to Earth. In the United Kingdom, Prince Charles and Diana divorced. So Prince Charles and Princess Diana were officially divorced during August of 1996. The couple had married in 1981 as the world watched the extravagant event. In 1982, they had their first son, Prince William, and in 1984, their second son, Prince Harry, was born. Their early marriage had been painted as a fairy tale, but it was also highly dissected in the public eye, and the pair were often featured in the tabloids. By 1982, the couple had grown apart and were officially separated. Eventually, Diana and Charles agreed to the settlement terms and the urging of the Queen Elizabeth that they were officially divorced. Diana was stripped of her title, Her Royal Highness, as a result of the divorce, but was allowed to keep the name Diana, Princess of Wales. Some other major events from the United States, the Mars Global Surveyor. So NASA launched the Mars Global Surveyor, MGS, on November 7th. This was a robotic spacecraft with the mission objective to take high-resolution photos of Mars while mapping the planet from orbit. So the MGS arrived at Mars and entered its orbit in September of 1997. It began its mapping mission in March of 1999. This was the first successful Mars mission in about 20 years and was one of the most comprehensive missions, returning large amounts of useful data to NASA. The mission ended in November of 2006. Another fun technology that came out in 1986 was the Nintendo 64. So Nintendo releases the newest gaming system, the Nintendo 64, or the N64 in Japan. So the Nintendo 64 gaming console is first released in Japan during June of 1996, also known as the N64. So Nintendo's new gaming system was praised by critics as one of the best home gaming consoles to have ever been released. The N64 proved to be popular with consumers as well as with retailers. Seeing a high demand for the product within the first year of its release, at the time of its release it had some of the best graphics of any comparable gaming console, but was criticized for having very few games available when compared to other systems. However, many of the games were available for the system were thought of as some of the most popular and influential games of all time, so like Super Mario 64, GoldenEye 007, and The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Another event that happened is the mad cow disease hits Britain. So in May of 1986, the United Kingdom implemented a policy of non-cooperation with the European Union in response to an EU ban on worldwide exports of British beef that had been invested in March. The ban had placed on the beef exports in an effort to lessen the outbreak of the mad cow disease. So fears over the mad cow disease had increased after it was linked to a variant called the Jacob disease that had been proven fatal to humans in 1995. So the disease was fatal in cows and had been discovered in the UK in the mid-1980s. In order to reduce the spread of BSE or mad cow disease, the UK had to cull all at-risk cattle, and it was not until 1999 that the ban ended. In Bangladesh, there were severe thunderstorms and a tornado that killed 600 people. Alan Greenspan, the Federal Reserve Chairman, questions whether the stock market is overvalued. The UN experts and Iraq officials dismantle a biological weapons factory in Iraq. In India, there was a Category 4 cyclone. This Category 4 cyclone struck India. The storm surge swept fishing villages out to the sea. Over 2,000 people died. In the United States, the Dow Jones Industrial, the U.S. stock markets, including the Dow Jones Industrial, average gains at an incredibly fast pace and ended the year with over the 6,000 mark. The U.S. jumbo jet, burst into flames shortly after takeoff and crashed into the ocean off of Long Island. In Nigeria, there was a meningitis epidemic that outbroke in West Africa. A ferry sunk in Indonesia, so it was an overloaded ferry. 38 million acres of rainforests are destroyed by another timber cutting. In Mexico, there was Hurricane Dolly, which hit in 1996, crashed into the town of Tampico, Mexico. In France, there was a bombing of the Paris subway, killing 2 and injuring 128 people. In the UK, the IRA bombing Docklands. So the IRA planted a bomb that exploded in the Docklands area of London. And they exploded the bomb on June 15th in the Amdale Shopping Center in Manchester. In Saudi Arabia, a bomb loaded with high explosives was detonated in a U.S. military housing complex in Saudi Arabia. The Willamette Valley flood occurred too, and it swept through the Pacific Northwest. In Australia, Martin Bryant, a gunman, shot and killed 35 people in the tourist town of Port Arthur, Tasmania, on April 28th, 1996. The U.S. Summer Olympics were held in Atlanta in the United States. The U.S. nail bomb Centennial Olympic Park. So a nail bomb exploded on July 27th in Centennial Olympic Park in Atlanta. Again, Kofi Annan was elected to be the 7th Secretary General of the United Nations. In Egypt, gunmen killed 17 Greek tourists outside the Europe Hotel in Cairo. In Peru, the Peruvian people took hundreds of people hostage at the official residence of Japan's ambassador in Peru in Lima. The Whale Sea Express, the supertanker, the Sea Express, runs aground at the Welsh coast, spilling 70,000 tons of crude oil. And next, what we're going to talk about is a little bit of the popular culture that occurred in 1996. With popular culture, some of the big movies were Independence Day, Twister, Mission Impossible, Jerry Maguire, Ransom, 101 Dalmatians, The Rock, The Nutty Professor, The Birdcage. Some of the most popular TV shows, ER, Seinfeld, Friends, Suddenly Susan, The Naked Truth, Fired Up, The Single Guy, Home Improvement, Touched by an Angel, 60 Minutes, and the 1996 Billboard #1 songs, One Sweet Day by Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men, Because You Loved Me by Celine Dion, Always Be My Baby by Mariah Carey, The Crossroads by Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, How Do You Want It by Tupac featuring KC and JoJo, You're Making Me High by Toni Braxton, Macarena by Los Del Rio, No Diggity by Blackstreet featuring Dr. Dre, and Break My Heart by Toni Braxton. And then in the world of sports, the World Series champions, New York Yankees, the Super Bowl champions, Dallas Cowboys, NBA champions, Chicago Bulls, Stanley Cup champs, Colorado Avalanche, U.S. Open Golf, Steve Jones, U.S. Tennis, Pete Sampras and Steffi Graf, Wimbledon, Richard Krajek and Steffi Graf, NCAA football champions, Florida, NCAA basketball champions, Kentucky Derby, Grindstone, and some of the sports highlights, Cal Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's consecutive MLB game record when he played game number 2,131. And another fun thing, top 10 baby names of 1996, Emily, Jessica, Ashley, Sarah, Samantha, Michael, Matthew, Jacob, Chris, Joshua, and Topher. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson on 1996. Stay tuned for 1997.